Well, Ann Coulter is a best-selling author. I mean, her latest book, In Trump We Trust. If you haven't read it, go get it. It was a big New York Times bestseller. And, of course, her column comes out tomorrow. You should go to anncoulter.com, and that way you sign up there. You get the column first, and you can get everything there and follow her on Twitter and Facebook. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Great. How are you, Mark Simone?
Well, I'm a little upset at President Trump.
Finally!
Well, he's gone too far. He has banned transgenders from the military. What if one of these three guys wanted to join?
Oh, I knew you were going to bring that up to make me like him again. But I thought Congress just passed that.
Well, but he's banning transgenders. This is not right. Hey, they represent...
Yeah, no, what would we do without the mentally ill in our military forces?
I don't know if they're mentally ill, but they represent...
They're mentally ill.
They represent 0.07% of our population, and to not be able to serve...
I was kind of torn on that. I know Congress was looking at it, so maybe he signed a bill they passed or something, but the upside is that the Army was refusing to prohibit, big hairy men from going into the ladies' locker room in the Marines and the Army. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe finally this will cut down on girls in the Marines.
Well, hey, when they talk about you watch this crazy MSNBC and they're talking about the Justice Department, how it must remain independent and the FBI must remain independent. Where are they getting this from? Under the Constitution, the president runs the Justice Department and is in charge of the FBI. It's not an independent organization.
No, that's right. And at the beginning of Comey's testimony, once the truthful testimony after Trump tweeted that those conversations may have been taped, which finally got Comey to publicly admit that Trump was not personally under investigation and various other things, and that he had been cooperative in looking at any of his satellite employees, that sort of thing. He began by saying that the FBI was explicitly supposed to be, its charter is to be separate of the president, no interference from the president, and he referred to, particularly the way the powers of the FBI were changed after Watergate. It was exactly the opposite. It was exactly the opposite. That the idea was J. Edgar Hoover had gotten too big for his boots. I think he was a magnificent director, but since he was fighting communists, of course, the left and the media were against that. So they wanted to restrict and circumscribe the FBI's power. That was the change that was made post J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, and all these departments, commerce, whatever, justice, they're directed by the president. They're supposed to carry out his agenda.
No, the media thinks that every single, breathing human being should be dedicated to destroying Trump. Every entity of the federal government. And interestingly, I just tweeted out, you'll like it, your listeners will like it, very interesting, by... one of the rare honorable people left, really separating the mice from the men in the Trump era, and that's law professor Jonathan Turley, who goes through, just very briefly, short paragraph on each one, goes through, grades various government officials right now today on ethics. Rod Rosenstein, Robert Mueller, Jeff Sessions, Sally Yates. That was a good one to throw in. He starts with Sally Yates. We'll get back to her in a minute. Only one of them gets a passing grade. That is Jeff Sessions. As for Sally Yates, it is really outrageous. There's so much. I mean, to have all these government officials, as if they're walking around in pussy hats, as part of the resist movement. You're working for the government. I mean, you could expand the list here. But Sally Yates, when Trump issued his temporary travel ban from certain Muslim countries, which was already quite a watered down version of what the country had voted for. and is 100% blindingly constitutional. It's the president's job under both the Constitution and written law to determine who gets in and who doesn't get in, and he can suspend the immigration of any group or class of people based on the best interests of the United States. In any event, the Supreme Court has now ruled. Well, when Trump issued that order, Sally Yates at the Department of Justice ordered the entire Department of Justice not to enforce that order. Whether or not it is constitutional, and footnote, it is, it's certainly arguably constitutional. And for some low-level, officious female lawyer at Department of Justice to announce that the entire department will not enforce a constitutional, at least plausibly constitutionally, at least plausibly legal order of the president is shocking. I had completely forgotten about that one.
Yeah, and the guy you're quoting, Jonathan Turley, a very liberal MSNBC legal scholar. So for him to say it, it's pretty convincing.
Right, and we ought to do these grades for journalists and legal commentators too, because we could use a little more honest ethics all around these days.
Now, in August, when the Congress is in recession, you could have a recess appointment of a new attorney general. He would not require confirmation, and he could stay for a year and a half. Isn't that pretty good?
Who would take the job?
Well, that's the problem.
Oh, good grief. It's going to have to be Jared Kushner. We're going to have Jared Kushner running the entire government. No. I am mad at the Emperor God over this. He's behaving like an infant. He's blaming Jeff Sessions.
Well, he should.
They're 100% his fault. 100%. What are his two? And he's the president. If you don't like the attorney general, you fire him. You don't snipe at him on Twitter in these delusional tweets, and they are delusional.
Yeah, but Sessions recused himself over something that never even happened. How do you recuse yourself in a fictitious case?
Well, he was part of that isn't what he did. So we at least have to talk about what he actually did before evaluating whether it was the right thing to do. He recused himself before Trump appointed him from anything having to do with the campaign. That's what he was involved in. That's why he gets a passing grade, incidentally, from Jonathan Turley, liberal law professor.
To be technical, he didn't recuse himself from a Russia investigation. It was from any investigation of the campaign.
Of the campaign, yes.
Because he worked in the campaign.
Which he had to, because it's the ethical thing to do. Speaking of what we've been talking about this entire conversation. Point two, Trump has the audacity to go after him, thinking he can fool his gullible base by saying, oh, it's because he won't prosecute Hillary. No, it was Trump on November 22nd, 2016, who announced after getting elected that he was not going to pursue Hillary Clinton. I was a little annoyed, not very annoyed at the time, only because I think he shouldn't have said anything. He should have left it to, it's not, I mean, there's nothing banana republic about a public official, a government official, the possessor of a multi-million-dollar foundation being investigated for breaking laws, but it's not supposed to be the president who says, I want you to investigate this person. It's not supposed to be the president who says, you don't investigate this person. But no big deal. Let's move on.
All right, well, that's true. But where did this creepy Rod Rosenstein come from?
The Department of Justice.
Well, but this is Sessions putting him in there, right?
I'm not wild about some of the staffing decisions, but that's why a month ago, Ann suggested a win-win solution all around. Move Sessions over to Department of Homeland Security and put some really great people like Steve Markman, the Supreme Court Justice on the Michigan Supreme Court. He's already been confirmed twice by the Senate. He served in Bush and Reagan administrations. He's rock solid on every issue. He's massively respected. He is the legal practicing judge equivalent of Jonathan Turley, utterly above board, beyond reproach, good on all the issues, and a strong Trump supporter. I know him. He's very smart. Make him head of DOJ. And he's also worked a couple of times in Department of Justice for Senate Judiciary Committee. He knows what we're up against, and you do need someone like that in Washington who knows that there are a lot of Sally Yateses running around. Move him as AG, get Sessions over to Homeland, because the Homeland staffing has been great. I do think Sessions has been a little too courtly and Southern honorable in his staffing decisions. But he's the only one that's getting anything done on the Trump agenda. He's the one going after the sanctuary cities and so on and so forth. He's been good on immigration since long before Donald Trump was good on immigration. And oh boy, Trump just may as well come out and say, and actually tell us he's not going to build the wall.
The wall is coming.
Yeah, so is Christmas.
The wall is coming. The wall is coming. Well, I hate to say we're out of time, but you made some excellent points. I think we'll ease up on Sessions a little. You made some valid points there. Everybody, if you haven't read Ann Coulter's book, In Trump We Trust, you should get it. And the new column comes out tonight, right?
Yes, it does, for the early readers.
Well, if you want to be the first to get it, go to AnnCoulter.com and sign up there. Make sure you follow Ann Coulter on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone.
Take care.